Welcome to Corpse Club, the official podcast of DailyDead.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jonathan James, and today I'm joined by Bryan Christopher, Derek Anderson, and Scott Drebit. We're going to continue some of last week's episode, catching up on a couple different things. Scott recommended the excellent Yellowjackets, and I've caught up with that, so I'm excited to talk to him about it. We may or may not have an update on Dead by Daylight for Bryan. We'll see. And
No. Stop ducking me. No, we are putting a stop to this show. We are halting progress until you, Derek, and I know Scott hasn't done it, but consider the spotlight on you. You are in the hot seat. Have either one of you actually played Dead by Daylight? I will start with you, Derek.
Well, you start on a good note because I actually have played Dead by Daylight. I played first game. Yep.
And were you the killer or one of the survivors?
I was one of the survivors. I believe his name is Darren Fairfield.
Yeah, that's kind of like the default first person you start with.
Okay. So yeah, I just really jumped in not knowing anything. I skipped the tutorials. I was like, I gotta get in just one game before we record. And then I realized too that the update that I thought I downloaded last time was only 30% downloaded. So then I had like a 40-minute wait period of that. Then I jumped in and I'm like, crap, if I want to actually play this before we record, I'm just going to jump in, see what happens. And I actually did way better than I thought. I didn't even see the killer for like the first 10 minutes.
Oh,
now granted, I was hiding in a locker a lot of that time, but
so you were doing nothing to help the team, but you did not get caught. That's awesome.
Kind of probably
hiding in a locker.
It probably explained why people would like run up to me and run in circles around me, probably trying to be like, hey, come on, we actually have to do stuff in this game.
We're going this way. Like,
hey, chicken shit, if you want to join us.
Although then I started to see, this was like a cornfield level, and I started to see, now no Leatherface though, no Leatherface from the new movie, but it was like a really big dude in a mask. And that was the killer on this one. And
did he have a chainsaw?
No chainsaw.
Okay, then it probably wasn't the hillbilly. That's kind of my go-to, mainly because that's the easiest killer to use. It basically just comes down to you either hit people with a hammer, or you can like use a chainsaw as like a power move. It's like it'll take away all their health, but you have to time it just right in order to catch them or you'll miss. You were probably, I think were there bear traps where you were? Like, was
no bear traps?
Okay.
At least none that I ran into, but I did eventually get caught. See, I actually started to figure out what I was doing, and I was repairing a generator, and I figured out that you actually, when you hit L1 on the controller, that you're supposed to time it into that little that little mark, because I kept wondering, why am I getting electrocuted trying to fix this? And I'm like, oh, so there's strategy.
Quick time event. Yep.
Just like Until Dawn.
Exactly.
Yep.
Not that I know, not that I would know. Spoilers.
But so then I started to fix that, and I almost had it fixed, and then the killer came towards me, and I got scared and hid in that locker, and wouldn't you know it, he knew exactly where I was. And
it's almost like he was looking right at you. You ran into the locker.
I was hoping that he wouldn't be able to open it, but he must have had my combination.
And I'm just picturing Derek with like the Tweety Bird voice. Big old putty Tad will never find me in here.
There's something so comforting about hiding in a locker. But of course he got me.
Yeah.
And then he ended up impaling me on the hook. And I tried to get out, and I almost did. And then that like alien entity sucked me into the sky.
Okay.
And I died for good. But I think I got like 855 points or something.
Nice.
I'm not really sure, like, because I stayed alive for almost half an hour. So I feel like I did pretty good for my first time, but it was also a lot of just staying out of the way too.
Well, that's not bad considering a lot of the games don't even last a half an hour. So good on you there.
You just hide for 15 minutes, play for 15 minutes.
This also is the first learning opportunity. in terms of being on the hook, you actually don't want to try and get yourself off of it unless it's like absolutely necessary. Typically what you want to do is hang out and wait for one of the other players to come get you off the hook. Because if you try and do it yourself, it's a fairly low chance it's going to succeed. And it will actually, when it doesn't, it will increase the rate at which you get closer to being fully sacrificed to the entity.
Oh, okay. I thought something was wrong when I started to try and get off the hook, and then it just seemed to get worse. But I just kept hitting that button like, yeah, I want to get off the hook.
It's like real life. You're not getting off that hook by yourself.
It's like the SpongeBob episode when he plays hooky.
I thought you were going to say the SpongeBob episode where he's hanging off the back of a hook or something.
It happens.
The slash slinging slasher.
Well, how would you rate it, Derek? How was your first experience? You want to play
I did the customer support 5-star review on it, so I had a great time. I felt kind of like, I felt like almost like when you're a kid and you're playing Ghosts in the Graveyard or something like that. It felt really fun. Yeah, so it was, and it really had my heart pumping too. Like I really didn't know what to expect, and I was kind of like, I don't know, but it really like exceeded my expectations. And now I really want to see like what the other maps are like, and just the whole strategy of the game. I mean, I feel like there's so much to learn, but it's really exciting to kind of dive in there head first.
Well, what would help with that, Derek? Actually doing the tutorial.
Yeah, I figured.
Listen, don't give him crap. At least he played your game.
Yeah, well, I know. I'll say what could happen is you could install the game. You could sign up for PlayStation Network, give them your credit card, go into the tutorial, and have it crash 5 minutes in an infinite loop you can't get out of, where it tells me to get myself off the hook, and I'm like, I'm not on the hook. I'm in one of those little cabinets or whatever hiding. And then I get out of the cabinet and says, get off the hook. And I'm like, I'm not on the hook. Then I had to cancel. I had to quit out of the tutorial, play it again. I'm like, okay, I got through the tutorial. Nice. Okay. And I did have fun with it. So I'm like, okay, now it's time to play with some real people. PlayStation Network's got a lot of people. It says we can cross play with people. I'm like, cool. There's, a lot of people play in this game. Obviously it's popular. Waiting. Okay, but maybe, and I go back and then I start up again and wait 5 minutes, waiting. I'm like, okay, maybe it's my network. I restart the PlayStation. I let it sit there. I put the game back on, try to connect to a game, waiting. I left it for 30 minutes, waiting.
What?
Wow,
I could not get into.
That's wild. Because I was going to say, like, it is... Like when I first started, it did take a while for me to get into games. I don't know if I'm sure they have some kind of algorithm that tries to pair people, like, so you're with skill level
as opposed to noobs. That was my guess, is that I had
about a half hour is there's something going wrong there.
Yeah, it was a long time.
That would be very kind.
That being said, I did enjoy the tutorial, and I know when we all played together, we can just jump in each other's games, so we're not going to have to wait for people. But no, it was good. I got stuck at the same quick time event that you did, Derek, where it's like I wasn't expecting initially that, like, what to do the repair, and then I kept electrocuting myself and being in that infinite loop, and I'm like, oh, I'll get this. But it's all fairly standard stuff, and I did like the I think it's got a lot of polish. I mean, graphically it looks, I mean, even just like the interface, I mean, it's better than Halo. It's got a lot of polish to it, and yeah, I've enjoyed what I've played so far. So, but I'm looking to play with some other, like, with some real people. Even if it's 30 minutes of me hiding, I'm just like, I want some human players. I have not played as the killer yet, though, so that'll be the next piece. But Derek, yes. we made it, and you made it a little further than I did.
I'm very proud of both of you.
I'm proud of all of you.
Aw, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
And you can join us too, Scott. And you can install
Dead by Dawn. It's called Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight savings time.
Yeah,
Daylight. Okay.
But yeah, you get that, and then we'll all be able to play.
Awesome. I'm all over it.
Yeah, and now I'm on PlayStation Network, and
that is awesome.
I'll give you my info, and we can play.
Sweet.
Yeah, but
and you can dust off your Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh man, I gave it away.
Oh my goodness.
Derek's like really set back.
Yeah, I'm
wow.
sorry. Well, I'll usually trade in games or give games to, whether it's my brother-in-law or my friends if I know they have PlayStation. I'm just like, because I'm not going to play them. They're just going to sit there and collect dust. So that was one of them. The only thing I'll play is like if I'll play it over again, or if like, there's a multiplayer game I play a lot, like Halo, but that's digital. I don't even have a disc for that.
So a quick tangent into non-horror land. You kept mentioning Halo, but so a friend of mine, we've decided we're going to go through the whole series on Legendary. We got through the entirety of Halo 1, and then we've played probably a solid 4 hours stuck on the first mission of Halo 2, and we are very, very close to going down to Hero because that is insane.
No, nice. Yeah, I haven't.
Wow.
Trying to play Halo 2 on Legendary is not, it's not even fun. It's not a good time. So we're probably going to bump down to Hero and then see what happens when we get to 3.
What are you playing on, PC or Xbox?
Xbox.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, let me know if you want to. I think they're adding co-op to Infinite. I haven't played the Infinite campaign yet. I've only been playing multiplayer. I played a lot of multiplayer. I already maxed out their battle pass. But
so when you need your PlayStation 5 to cool off, you'll switch over to the Xbox.
I mean, honestly, I've only been using the PlayStation for streaming and for 4K because actually, and I've seen reviews on it, it's got a better 4K player. So like it's like a pretty decent 4K player, and like you can like Pepsi Challenge and kind of like switch consoles, and it looks better. So I found and it looks better than Chromecast. So anyway, so like I use the PlayStation for that right now and for Dead by Daylight. But then yeah, I've been playing a lot of Xbox. So I
thought you were gonna say you've only been using it for a nightstand.
Oh no, for a laptop stand for Corpse. It might be next.
He really only bought the PS5 to make sure some kid couldn't get it. So
that's so mean. I bought it for Miles Morales, and that game took like 6 hours, and then I got Godfall, but we didn't like it. So yeah, I haven't played. I mean, honestly, I haven't played a lot of PlayStation. I'm playing more Xbox because it's all about Halo lately.
Oh, and the new live action series is coming out.
I'm excited for it. I saw the trailer. I don't know. It feels like a little.
Who's in it?
I'm hoping Nicolas Cage is.
I couldn't even tell you who's in it. I know the person who plays him. I mean, I've seen the actor, but I'm blanking on everybody who was in the cast. I was really just kind of looking at the weapons they were holding to compare it to multiplayer. I'm like, it's a BR. That's the which kind of I guess is the reason they did a lot of that stuff. Or that's the energy sword. But I mean, it looks like the world of Halo. And honestly, I guess the big thing is like Neil Blomkamp was going to make a Halo movie, famously like years and years ago after District 9. And I just don't think that the technology kind of just wasn't there to bring that world to life in a way that kind of matched the game. So I don't know how this show is going to be. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet, but it looks really close to the game world.
Yeah. The only phrase I understood in the last 5 minutes was Pepsi Challenge.
Oh, no. Well, anyway, Brian, side chat, but yeah, anytime you wanna Halo it up, let me know.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
copy that.
I think they're gonna add Halo Infinite co-op in May, I think is the deal. They didn't have it, as a lot of game developers will do. It's like these days, like the game kind of ships like half finished. So it's like game's ready, but multiplayer, what do you call it? Co-op's not ready for multiplayer, and they don't have Forge, so you can't build all those custom games yet. That's when Halo 3 was really fun. And I don't remember if 2 was custom games. I can't remember, but I played a lot of 3, but I digress. Well, this is Corpse Club. I mean, there's a lot of corpses in Halo. It counts. It counts.
Spooky.
Yes. Hey, they have Halloween events too. They have zombie events. So you know what? It's fully on brand. They have this. Has anybody played zombie mode for Halo?
I have not.
No. They have it where you have one dude who's got an energy sword, and there's like 20 other people playing, and those are the non-zombies. And if he gets you with the energy sword, then you die. You come back as a zombie with an energy sword, and you have to see if you can outlast the timer. And that was that was huge during Halo 3, and they released it as an official game mode. And I can't remember if it was called Infection, or I think it was called Infection. And so I'm hoping they bring that back. But they had things like that, and like they had Oddball.
Well, there's like in the first one, there's a zombie element because of the flood. The Covenant alien race wound up getting overtaken by some kind of mutant, mutagen or something like that for all intents and purposes turned them into zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
Which one of the fun things to do with that is when they're hard to kill, but you can actually like take off their appendages if you shoot them in the right place. And if you take off both their arms, they're actually harmless, but they'll still try and kill you. So essentially they follow you around, kind of like Michonne's zombies in the Walking Dead. We've taken to calling them floodies.
Oh, that's fun.
That's awesome. It's like Dead Space or Doom.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
It's a cool little pet. It's nice.
Yeah. Did you ever play on Reach? Did you ever play Gruntpocalypse, where they have all those small little grunts and you have to kill waves of them until they kill you?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, they don't have that for Infinite yet, but they had that in Reach. I remember playing way too much of that. But anyway, we'll get back to other topics, because Scott's dying here. I can hear him slowly dying over there.
Drowning.
And Scott,
challenge.
but I know there's something that we're planning on talking about that you've seen, and so I will let you take the first stab at it, and we'll get right into Murderville.
Oh, Mother Mercy. You know what? I had forgot. I was thinking we were going to start with something else.
I had a feeling. I know that's why I went for
I'm
Murderville.
so glad that we're starting with Murderville. Murderville is, for those who don't know, it's a new show that just came on Netflix starring Will Arnett. And each episode's about a half an hour long. It's a mixture between it's an improv show, but it's kind of the reverse of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they have an outline and everything is improvised. This is completely scripted out, except the celebrity detective trainee that works alongside Will Arnett each episode has no idea what's going on, and there's a murder is announced, and this celebrity guest star has to solve it with Will Arnett by the end of the show. The first episode was Conan O'Brien, and what can you say when you're talking about comedy? You either like something or you don't. And I love Conan O'Brien, and the first episode with Conan O'Brien had me crying with laughter.
He was such a great way to introduce this concept, because he is, like, anyone who's seen his show or if you've listened to his podcast, he is addicted to riffing. And that's essentially what this show is. They're setting up a concept or a premise in various set pieces, and then Arnett will just riff with the person, and like that is just Conan's sweet spot. It's just taking something and running it usually into the ground in the best possible way.
I think out of all the guest stars they have, and we'll talk about some of the others in a minute, but I think Conan, and I know why they made it the first episode, but I think he was probably the best. And the reason is because I think he's the one that took it off script the most. I think while many of the others in some cases, like, they kind of followed Will Arnett's lead and he was kind of able to break them, while he still did with Conan from time to time. It was really interesting to see him just take things off the rails and watch the cast and Will Arnett try to kind of like pivot to like follow him. It was it was really good.
It was, because to see Arnett crack up at Conan,
yeah,
to see Arnett laugh because he's making Conan laugh, like in the interrogation scene. When he's so overexcited about the magic tricks.
So, and one of the things to keep in mind, or to bring up about the show, is that the people aren't all from the same comedy or even acting background, or in some cases they don't they're not known for acting. So it's Conan O'Brien, it's Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek, it's Kumail Nanjiani, it's Marshawn Lynch from the Seattle Seahawks, Sharon Stone, and Ken Jeong. And I think the brilliance of the show, I've seen the whole season at this point. I basically just devoured the whole thing. Is seeing it's funny for different reasons because of the different people that are on it. So Conan O'Brien is a good entry point because he fits in with this really well and he can take it and run with it. But then you have Sharon Stone, who is really brilliant and she's a great actress. But it's funny to watch her kind of funnel that into a situation where she's, I don't think she has a lot of improv experience, but she's able to take what she's really good at and kind of shift it into that. Marshawn Lynch is just delightfully insane. So he just he was game for whatever was going on.
That's the one where that's the latest one that I've seen, is the second episode with Marshawn Lynch. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. He's a football player.
He's such a natural. Yeah. He was the most natural out of the group.
Jesus Christ. Detective Bagabitch is what he wants to be called.
You would have thought that he was the one who had a script going into it.
Yeah.
With just how naturally
our net calls his friend Carol down at City Hall to get his name changed.
So it's in the works? Okay.
He says it's in the works.
But yeah, this show is nuts. And I know we're playing fast and loose with this being a horror podcast, but honestly,
there are murders. There are murders.
And there are some really
there's a murder
scenes. There's a couple of pretty gory scenes in it. One of the murders is that during a magic act, the assistant literally gets cut in half. So you just see the after effects of that. There's another one where with Sharon Stone, she has to pretend to be a surgeon. So they have this prop patient that Will Arnett just starts cutting into, and there's blood flying all over the room. And speaking of bodies, I think one of my favorite things about this show is watching the people who have to play corpses try not to break while really funny stuff is going around them, because they're not always super successful at it.
Nope. Christy was dying at that one with Sharon Stone. Yeah, that was good.
Now, as far as the mysteries go, of the two that I've seen, I'm 50%. I'm batting 500. I got the first one right. I guessed the first one right, and I guessed the second one wrong.
I was with
Marshawn.
I've been about 50%.
Yeah.
I wasn't really paying attention in the first one, and then once I realized all the things you have to be looking for and that you actually have to pay attention, then Christy and I started paying attention from there on, and we got like I said, we did about half.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm like, oh my God, they're actual mysteries. I'm like, okay, let's go. And then you get Marshawn was just, oh my God, he was hilarious.
Yeah, and this is based on a BBC show, which I haven't had a chance to check out, but I'm not sure if either of you caught that. But there's a BBC show called Murder in Successville, and so this is a Netflix version of that.
Love it. I'm loving it so far. I think when we're done here, I'll probably get on the rest of those, because my God, I just love it.
Yeah, I genuinely hope this better get a season 2, because it's so good. And
it can't cost a lot to make.
Yeah, maybe whatever they have to pay to get the people who are on it, but I don't know, it's a half an hour. I can't imagine it's a heavy lift for the guests. There's gonna be people, if this thing catches on, they'll be lined up around the block to want to be on this thing, Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, I hope there's some kind of a meta thing where, because one of the running like threads in this first season is that the Will Arnett's character, his name is Terry Seattle, and he's kind of like been obsessed with the death of his partner, who you only see in photographs, but it's clearly Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping in an upcoming season they get her to be on it, and then like, you know, just have like a running gag of him saying she looks really a lot like his old partner.
Yeah, there's lots of places they can go with it. I'd be very surprised if we don't get a second season, because I know a lot of people who have been watching it. It's one of those shows, kind of like like Wolf Like Me, where it's like anybody can get into it. Mm-hmm. Like it's, you know, I mean, especially as big as, you know, true crime's been, and so many people who watch those procedurals, but then also if you like improv, it's good, and you know, so it kind of hits everything.
And you know, sometimes you don't realize until you've had a great big laugh how much you needed one. So if you're looking for that, folks, there's a very high probability that this will make you laugh, and you will be glad you did.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's only 6 episodes, so
yeah,
it feels like it's something you can really binge. Like, it's not intimidating to be like, oh, I gotta, you know, clear off an entire week to watch it. Like 6 episodes, what's 30-ish minutes a piece?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very doable.
Yeah. Unlike the big investment that I made this past week into Yellowjackets. And so I wanted to thank you, Scott, because
you're welcome.
I was honestly, I heard a lot of people talking about Yellowjackets, but I hear a lot of people talking about a lot of shows. I'm just like, well, what am I going to watch? And so I wasn't sure I was going to do it. We talked about like the Showtime Hump to Get Over, which really isn't that bad. And I was just like, and then you started talking more about it. And then I started hearing more about it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. Because Christy's like, what are we going to watch? I'm like, Yellowjackets. And so for those of you who are like, well, I don't get Showtime. Showtime for me, because if you have Amazon Prime, it was free as an add-on for a month. So it's a free add-on. So you could just 30 days, you catch up on this, you catch up on Dexter. And I happily would have paid for this as a separate VOD option, but I didn't even see it as an option. But there you go. So anyway, so I watched it on Showtime, and Christy and I loved it so much. We just binged. We did like 3, 3, and 4 for the episodes, and they're an hour a piece. So I mean, it is a bit of a
wow.
Well, you finished. We haven't even finished yet.
Oh so. Yeah, we ran right through it. How many episodes are you in?
I want to say we've got to be around 8.
Oh, you're close. 8. You're close.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the real deal. It's I mean, the show is so good because it's interesting because some shows can be like a mashup of different genres or movies we've seen before, and you can really see the influences, and you see those and like the winks more than you do like anything original. And nothing specific comes to mind, but this is definitely one of those shows that could have gone that way, and it's nothing like that. There are like, you know, you mentioned kind of like Lost, and I can see a scene and be like, oh, that kind of reminds me of Lost, but I don't see this as like stealing from Lost, or you could say like that like movie Alive or things like that. And then especially when they're in the woods, you could start, saying it's more like a horror movie where people are stranded out in the woods, whether you want to say, The Ritual or something else like that. And so it's very easy to say that there are all these influences, but this does something to me that they combine in a way that feels wholly original and fresh. They're hopping back and forth between different timelines. The acting, both the young actors and the actors in present day, they're fantastic. It's like we were sucked in from like episode 1.
Melanie Lynskey, I've never been more in awe of her or more in love with her. I'll just come out and say it, than in this show. She is so amazing as Shauna, who I guess would be, of the 8 episodes I've seen, would be your main protagonist.
I think so,
because you got to put one of them at the head. But I forget the lady's name who plays Ty. and Juliette Lewis.
Tawny Cypress.
Thank you. Tony Cypress. Christina Ricci as Misty, a character for the ages. It's a wild show. And as you said, there's a lot of, Lord of the Flies.
Totally.
Is in there too. And it's just a show that it slowly shows you what's going on, but it has so much to show you that you're continually being shown something. Like, it has so many, the way it's plotted out between the present day and the past is simply brilliant. It creates a kind of tension, and the way it's put together is it's fantastic. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we loved it. And I mean, and I think, there's a balance to it. Like, how much mystery do you have in? And like, you can get a sense in certain shows that they throw out a bunch of mysteries, but they don't really know where they're going. That isn't the case at all with this, where it's like, they may take their time to get certain places, but it feels like, and especially you have to have a plan going in because you're managing all these different characters and these timelines from the get-go. And I also think it's helpful because you could say that this is, and I think, Derek, that you would love this because I do feel like this has maybe, based on what you've said, like a Riverdale feel, or Pretty Little Liars, but also because this is on Showtime and this is a hard R rating to it. They don't hold back on anything. And so, this definitely, it could, is firmly in horror territory. And there's just some gruesome scenes. It's a heavy hitting show all around. I mean, there's some, like I said, there's definitely some gross out stuff. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah. It's sad. It's a little bit of everything.
I'm thinking of, I just did, when you mentioned Riverdale, I'm thinking of all the things that have happened on that show. And I'm like, I don't know if they ever held back necessarily, but I know what you're saying as far as like maybe some of how much they can show with certain things. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. They still are. They still do have a what do you call it? A teen rating, I think, for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and you mentioned Lost, and I know you said it doesn't really steal anything from Lost, but as someone who like really loves Lost, do you think I would find a lot to enjoy in this show as far as, because I love how Lost had the two different timelines. So you essentially got two different stories each episode. Is it kind of like that, but different?
I didn't finish Lost, so just fully admitting that. But based on what I know how it ends. But based on what I have seen of Lost and what I have heard, I think this is a more streamlined version of dealing with that story and with the hopping timelines, where it sounds to me and it felt to me like Lost was a little more confusing how it got there. Here, everything's kind of straightforward as I see it, and you kind of hop back, and then there's something in the past that may inform what you see in the future, or there may be a hint, or in the present, there may be a hint in the present that ties back.
It's not a sci-fi thing where it's not between timelines or anything. It's just, there's what happens in the past, what's happening in the present, and they just, as Jonathan said, show you in flashbacks what actually happened once their plane crashed and they were on the island.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the present influencing the past or vice versa. It's just the way that they dole out the information from what happened in the past is so suspenseful. It's terrific.
Yeah, and I will say too, something else that stands out is because this was from the 90s, and I've seen a lot of social media buzz for this, but like this has, a lot of people were talking about Fear Street and all the kind of needle drops they have on that. And I would say that maybe for any of the like criticisms of it on, Fear Street, that I think this probably does a better job of having a 90s soundtrack that maybe feels a little more organic, and it's actually used within the story as part of the storytelling devices that they have. So when
it's not bumper to bumper.
Yeah. But it has a killer soundtrack, and I love their intro.
Oh, that song.
I love the song. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
this was
do what Jonathan says, everybody. Go on Amazon Prime if you got, and get that free Showtime for a month. Get the good for a month, and then drop them like a bad habit.
Oh, and I do also have to call out in terms of the creative team. I mean, there's a ton of people behind this, but immediately I kind of screamed when I saw the first episode was directed by Karin Kusama, and so
really?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so like she set the tone for this, and I'm like, as soon as I saw, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm getting into, and she's also an executive producer on it, and so
oh wow,
yeah, so it's great, and there, like I said, there are quite a few people on. I think Eduardo Sanchez takes the finale, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. Anyway, there's like I said, there's a lot of great people involved in this, and it just seems to be, like I said, a labor of love from everyone. Great performances, just like I said, great all around, and it's already been renewed for a second season. So we'll be watching Yellowjackets season 2 in less than a year.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I just I'm that gif of the dirty girl with the glasses.
Yeah. So no, it's good stuff. So thank you. And again, we the funny thing about, Corpse Club is, as much as, we know our listeners will get recommendations from us, I will also, get recommendations and my other co-hosts from each other. And so it's cool to see what we're all checking out. And I know that Derek has had a chance to check something out that we haven't, and that is Nothing But Blackened Teeth. So I was curious about what you had to say about it.
Yeah, I was inspired from our last episode, Scott. You had mentioned you had read Eric LaRocca's Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. And I had been partway through Cassandra Khaw's Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which special shout out to my friend Sarah, who was gracious enough to loan that to me. And I was like, I really need to sit down, take the time and finish this, because I had really been enjoying it. And then I had set it aside, got really busy. And then I was really glad to come back to it. And it is really, really good. The cover art has been making the rounds on Twitter. You might have seen it in stores. It's by Samuel Araya, and it is this haunting image of like this ghost with no eyes, no nose, and just like this blood red mouth. And it's just pure nightmare fuel. So that alone, like if you judge a book by its cover, you're really going to want to dive into this. So this was something that I'd been wanting to read for a while. It actually came out quite recently in October of 2021 from Tor Nightfire, which is like Tor's horror imprint. And they release a lot of really, really good books, and they're continuing to do that this year. But Nothing But Blackened Teeth, it's a really, really good story. It's basically like this group of friends that are in this like really old Heian era mansion, and they're there to have a little wedding ceremony because two of them are getting married. But there's a lot of history in this group of friends. Not everyone's relationships are in a really good place, and there's a lot of tension right off the bat. And it's kind of like, at first they try to ignore that tension, but this mansion just continues to kind of chip away at those relationships and really puts them in a place where they end up, like, the worst things that you could think of end up happening. And the haunted house is kind of this catalyst for putting these relationships to the test and eventually just twisting them in almost like an Evil Dead like fashion, where it really gets gruesome towards the end. And it's also very psychological. So Cassandra Khaw, they did a just awesome job with this. And it's a very, it's like 128 pages. So it's novella length. You could just tear through it in one or two sittings, and
Sold.
I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, I know, right? It's like, oh, this is awesome. I can, it's not, you can sit down and really experience it all in one sitting if you want to.
We don't have enough novellas lately. Well, I'm saying that like with absolutely nothing to back it up, other than the fact that I personally haven't seen them. But like, I'm
like the one I just talked about last week.
Shut up, Scott. Shut up, Scott. My point stands.
We need more novellas.
Yes, that's only 2. We need more. But like, I love a good book where it's just you pick it up. It only takes like 3 or 4 sessions to get through it. And there's also something I enjoy about like the tactile kind of difference of a novella, like as opposed to a giant book that will like, it almost feels like you're getting a workout while you're reading it. No, I like the idea of, Scott, it's kind of like our, keep it at 90 minutes when we're talking about movies, like, keep it at a couple hundred pages if you can for a book. Like, my attention span isn't all that great. So also really intrigued by the cover. Actually kind of reminds me of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yes.
Just kind of like some of the same coloring and just a similar vibe. So it kind of cool to bring that into, an adult story.
Yeah, it's and it reminded me too of kind of the woman in the water from The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I feel like this is if you really enjoyed like any of the Haunting of shows, this really taps into that type of horror as well. And there's a lot of great Japanese folklore. Like I just learned so many different words by reading this book, because Cassandra goes really into detail on some of the, like how a mansion from the Heian era would look with all these really interesting like Japanese elements. So it's really such a cool different take on the haunted house just in that regard alone. And then there's also this cool backstory with this bride who is buried alive there because her groom never showed up to their wedding. And like over the years, it was rumored that like a girl had to be like buried alive in the walls of the house. So it's just this really creepy backstory, but it's at the same time, it's this great character dynamics and really building that tension of like, what's the worst possible scenario of like, you get together with people, but then you're like, oh, I don't know if I really like these people. And then it kind of goes from there. So it's really interesting how it all unfolds.
Are they new to the market, this author, or?
Cassandra, they write, so they work for Ubisoft. So they write a lot of video game scripts and things like that. But they also, they have written a few novellas previously in kind of like the fantasy horror realm. So like Hammers on Bone, I believe, is one of their bigger titles previously. So, but this is for like straight on horror. They're relatively, within the last couple of years, newer to this market. And so I think a lot of people are going to be wondering what they write next, because I think they really knocked it out of the park this time around. And I would love to see this adapted to, I think this would be a great basis for like a movie or a TV show. So definitely someone to keep an eye on.
So I'm just going to tell you right now, like usually we need to wait for a future episode to be able to give an update. I can give you one in real time. I literally just put a hold on it in my local library based off of Derek's recommendation.
Ooh, nice.
All right.
That sounds good. Now, the bad news is I just saw I'm 13th in line, so apparently a lot of people have had this idea.
My. Wow.
But hopefully that goes faster. It comes sooner rather than later.
And that shows how much interest there is in it. Cool.
One copy with 12 people, 12 days tops.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah.
that's cool.
I got
Nice.
something to look forward
Nice.
to.
Well, I'm glad
Thank
I
you,
could make a positive difference.
Yes,
And it's not as long as as I love those big Stephen King novels, but because it's not as long as that, maybe you'll have a lower waiting period.
Possibly.
Nah. Someone's gonna read 3 pages a day just to savor it.
You'll get a notification in like 2024.
Yep. It's in. No,
Yeah,
I'm my next since we're talking book club here.
Ooh, Corpse Club Book Club.
The next author that I'm checking out is the very popular Paul Tremblay.
Oh, yes. Okay, which one, though? Is it one of the newer ones?
This is the first one I have in my mitts is A Head Full of Ghosts.
Yes. Oh, Scott, you have to let us know what you think. It is so good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So that's the one that really put Tremblay on the map too. I think it came out it's already probably been like 5 or 6 years since it came out. But that one was the one that led to like The Cabin at the End of the World, and he has Survivor's Song and really kind of blew up. But that one is very interesting. I'm really excited to see what you think.
Sweet.
And at one point in time, there was a movie adaptation, and it was rumored that Robert Downey Jr. was going to play the dad, but I don't think that's moving forward anymore, at least not that version of it. But I always thought that would be really interesting. So you never know.
Oh, there you go. I'm looking forward to it. Robert Downey Jr. or not.
So if we're doing book club, if I may, I can throw one in as well in terms of what I've got on deck. I think in a previous episode I talked about reading Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. It is kind of a locked room murder mystery, but with like queer necromancers and just all manner of like kind of like grungy sci-fi, and it just got a very kind of dark gothic feel to it. It was really good. The ending of it kind of blows up your perspective in terms of where you think it could go. And so I've actually just started reading the sequel, which is Harrow the Ninth, which takes the perspective of a different character and continues the story through their perspective, which is interesting because it's already taking a very different tone than the first book did, which is both good and bad, because I feel like I really got into the tone of the first book. So like it's almost like Muir is taking a very bold chance to be like, okay, like this is all the stuff you liked about the first one. I'm doing something different here. So feel free to come along if you want to. I'm very early in it, so like time will tell if it pans out. But it's if you haven't read the first one, Gideon the Ninth, and you're into like a big grab bag of various all kind of like I would say genre related tropes and kind of tones and different kind of perspectives, Gideon the Ninth is really good, and so hopefully that will continue with the second one. Nice.
Now you had me at murder mystery in a locked room. That's always intriguing. And then throwing the necromancer element, it's like, oh, anything could happen.
Yeah, in fairness, when I say locked room, it's like a giant building, but they're all kind of like stuck in this place together. But that's part of the fun. They're trying to like investigate and explore this building that has all kinds of hidden passages and things like that.
Oh, interesting. Like a Clue mansion.
Yeah, a little bit, but with like big skeleton monsters in it.
Ooh, you got me with big skeleton monsters. I haven't been on board for any of the books until then. No, I'm just kidding.
Skeleton monsters, let's go.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for the book recommendations, and with that, this Corpse Club episode is coming to an end. I do want to let our listeners know to head over to dailydead.com. Of course, there's always cool stuff over there for you to check out. But over the next week, we're going to have some special features related to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And who knows, maybe there'll be something on the next episode of Corpse Club. But what do I know? We want to thank Bryan, our engineer, for helping us out each and every episode. And as always, we want to thank our listeners, including those of you who have signed up for a Corpse Club membership. I also want to thank those who have reached out recently. We've received some additional reader feedback or listener feedback, I should say. And it's always cool to hear what episodes you enjoy, what episodes you've been catching up on, anything you want to hear us talk about. We appreciate it. Make sure to visit corpseclub.com if you want to check out any of our backlog of episodes. You can sign up to to become a member. And we did, like I said, have some recent membership. So thank you for those who have signed up. Everybody who is a Corpse Club member, thanks to you, we're able to keep doing what we do. And membership options include the ability to get a Corpse Club t-shirt, a pin. You can pick an episode topic. You want to have a dedicated episode of the Corpse Club Book Club. That could happen. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Every rating and review really helps. You can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and all of your favorite podcast providers. If you want to get in touch, you can reach out. We're at contactcorpseclub.com. On Twitter, we're at Daily Dead News, at Corpse Club. And on Instagram and Facebook, we're under Corpse Club as well. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, stay scary.